guys, this is Ethan Flash Fitness, and today I'm going to be going over how to fully assemble the Flash F50 all-in-one Smith machine. Once the lid is taken off, you're going to be seeing all the parts nicely bubble wrapped just like so, and this is to completely protect everything from scratches and dents while shipping across the country. Once the crate has been fully opened, the next step is going to be unwrapping all the parts. Alright guys, now that everything's been taken out of the crate and unwrapped, it's time to begin step 1 of the assembly process. Just a quick note guys, the F50 comes with 2 different types of bolts. So depending on the step, I'll show up on the screen which size bolts to use for which step. Alright guys, for step 1, you're going to be building the base and you're going to have these 2 feet. There's no left or right, so it doesn't matter which one. It's just important that, as you can see, these 2 prongs, the prong is facing forward. Alright, so now that we have our 2 back beams installed, the next step is going to be the cross member to connect these 2 back beams. Okay, so as you can see, the cross member has been put on, and I just want to make a quick note at this point in time. Make sure to not tighten any of the bolts or nuts until later on in the assembly process. So for now, just keep everything hand tightened, so it should be extremely loose. You can still move everything around, so do not tighten anything until instructed to do so. And just a quick pointer to not forget, these big holes, 1, 2, and 3, need to be facing outside. And these small rivets, 1, 2, and 3, need to be facing the outside as well. Same for the left side. So you have 1, 2, and 3. And then the rivets, 1, 2, and 3. So make sure those are, for both back beams, they are facing the outside of the rack. So the next step is going to be installing the weight horns on the outside of the rack. There's going to be 3 on each side and then 6 in total. Alright guys, so now that we have the weight horns installed, 3 on each side, the next step is going to be installing the vertical barbell storage tubes. Now that step 1 is complete, the next step is going to be putting the vertical uprights. The 3 uprights have been installed. The next step is going to be the cover panels on either side of the machine. One quick thing that I forgot to mention was when you're installing these middle beams, make sure that these Allen bolts, there's 3 on each side, are facing outside just like the back beam. Guys, now that the covers have been installed, the next step is going to be the pulley trolleys that go on each upright. Something that is very important to take note of while installing the trolleys is that there is threading on only one end. Make sure the threading is facing down because this is where the cable will be run through. So as you can see here, there's no threading, it is just a hole at the bottom. The threading is right here. So make sure the threading is facing down. That way we can feed the cable in through there at the very end. Guys, once you got the trolleys installed, 1 on each side, the next step is going to be putting on the actual pulley system to each of the trolleys. So once the pulleys have been installed on each side, the next step is going to be installing the counterweight. The counterweights, they're going to be rectangular metal blocks that are very heavy. What you're going to do is you're going to get 4 of these long screws that come packaged with the counterweight, and you're going to put it in these 4 holes. Okay, so once the screws have been placed, you're going to get this roller piece. It's the size of a Lego brick. It's silver, it has 3 wheels, and then you're going to match the screws to the threading on the Lego brick look-alike piece. So this is going to be the final product. So here's the counterweight, here's the rolling piece. What we're going to do is we're going to slide this rolling piece on the back rail of the middle beam, just like so. Now that we have the counterweights installed, it is very important to note that this threaded hole has to be facing up so we can feed in the cable through there in the later steps. Now that we have the counterweight installed on one side, we're going to do the same exact process on the other side. Alright guys, now that the counterweights have been installed on both sides, we're going to start working on the weight stack. So at this point in time, make sure the machine is where you want it to be, because once we put on the weight stack, is going to be extremely heavy and practically impossible to move around. Alright, so now we're going to be installing these metal guide rods, 2 on each side. You will be noticing that in the F50 there are 2 different sets of guide rods, one that are thicker and a set that is thinner. The thinner ones, there's going to be 4 in total. We're going to be using the thinner ones. So there's going to be 2 thin ones on each side that go to the weight stack. Okay, so now that we've installed the 2 guide rods on either side, you will probably want to go wash your hands because I'm sure you have noticed that the guide rods are extremely greasy and lubricated. So go ahead and wash your hands to get all that grease off. Once you come back from washing your hands, you're going to get 4 rubber bumpers, just like so. And each rubber bumper is going to go onto each guide rod. So this is how you should be looking like at this point in time. The 2 rubber bumpers. The 2 rubber bumpers. Alright, so for the 250-pound stack version of the F50, there's going to be 24 weights that go on each side. It depends if you get the 200-pound version or the 250-pound version, how much weights will go on each side. Quick note, when you're putting on the weight stack, make sure these black washers are facing upwards, and it has to be like that for every single weight. Now that the weight stacks have been fully installed, we're going to be moving on to the weight selector rod. All right, so the first step of assembling the weight selector rod, you're going to be needing a hammer. All you're going to do is slide in the weight selector rod into the top weight block, and you're going to have this metal rod, and you're just going to hammer the metal rod into the top hole of the weight selector rod. So once the metal rod has been hammered into the top weight plate, this is how it should be looking like. Once the top weight has been put on, we're going to be moving on to the pulley bracket. For the pulley bracket, we need to remove this top pulley. Okay, so now that the pulley has been removed, we're going to slide on the metal weight pin, just like so. And now we're going to grab our pulley bracket and our black Allen bolt. There's only 2 of these in the entire F50. Once we have the pulley bracket installed, make sure for this step to fully tighten that Allen bolt. Once that Allen bolt has been tightened, we can put the pulley back to its original position. So once we have the weight selector rod fully assembled, we're just going to be sliding it on just like all the other weight stacks. Now that the weight stacks have been fully assembled, we're going to be moving forward onto the Smith machine portion of the F50. For the first step of the Smith machine portion, we're going to be installing the hook pegs. The machine pegs have been installed. We're going to be moving on to the Smith machine bar. Alright guys, now that the Smith machine portion has been put on, I want to take a quick note and mention that it's very helpful to have 2 people when installing the Smith machine. It is a bit tricky, and there's a few things that you need to hold up at a time to install the Smith machine. So I recommend at least 2 people to assemble the Smith machine portion. The next step is going to be connecting the rear and middle cross member. You're going to be needing this piece right here. There's going to be 2 of them. And the way you install it is this piece needs to be facing forward. So if I were to install it, this long slot is going like this, and then keep in mind that these screws are going to so here's a close-up to see in better detail how the F50 is looking. This cross member here in the back, just a closer up. So you're only going to want to put at this point in time these 2 bolts. Hold nothing right there yet, just these 2. and then this larger slot is facing outward. These screws are going to the top of the machine. The next step is going to be installing the rear cross member. When installing the rear cross member, make sure that the rear cross member has these 3 holes in this orientation. Okay guys, so now that the rear cross member has been put on, the next step is going to be putting the top bracket. Guys, now that the top brackets have been installed on both sides, the next step is going to be connecting the 2 uprights with the pull-up bar. Okay guys, now that the pull-up bar has been put on, you can take a sigh of relief as the hardest part of the F50 build has been completely finished. And now it's just onto the final steps like the cables, the tightening, and some other small little details. For the next step, we're going to be installing the attachment storage hooks in the back cross member. Now that the rear crossmember storage hooks have been installed, we're going to be installing these rear dual hooks on the back of the machine. Here's just a close-up of the rear crossmember. As you can see, the storage hook, there's one on each end and then the big one in the middle. And then if you go around the machine here in the back, is the dual hooks, just like so. Next step is going to be attaching the counterbalance to the smooth machine. You're going to want to grab the shorter of the 2 cables. It's going to look just like this. There's a screw on one end and a hole on the other. Alright guys, so this is how you're going to want to run the cable to attach the counterbalance. You're going to want to start right here on the smooth machine, go up and over these 2 pulleys, and then back down. And then it just screws into the counterweight, just like so. So now that we have connected the counterbalance to the smooth machine bar, we just want to test out the smooth machine and make sure that everything is smooth, everything runs correctly, and that there's no unevenness or jerkiness, that just in case the cable has fallen off the pulley or the cable isn't run through right. So this is how it should be looking and sounding like. The counterbalance, the smooth machine bar should be very smooth. Should be very light. You can do it with one hand, and as you can see, everything is very smooth. You should be able to hear the bearings on either side. That is completely normal, but as you can see, this counterbalance is going up and down, and that's exactly how it should be. To move on to connecting the weight stack to the pulleys. So to do that, we're going to grab the longest cable. For the pulley system, we're going to be feeding the cable through the F50. This is going to be the leading end of the cable, so it's going to be the part where the screw this is going to go through all the pulleys. The first step is going to be removing this top pulley right here. Once this top pulley has been removed and the cable's been fed through, we can go ahead and install the pulley once again. And then now we're going to feed the cable through here at the top. And for this top pulley, guys, we're also going to need to remove it. Guys, so now that we have the cable fed through this front pulley, we're going to go over these 2 middle pulleys, so completely skip them, and then we're going to be going over this back pulley. In order to get the cable through this back pulley, we're also going to need to take the pulley off. So now that the cable has been ran through this top rear pulley, we're going to be feeding the cable through this hole right here and keep it going along this slot. And then just like so, feeding it under and over this pulley, bring it back up. Now we're going to feed it through these two pulleys. In order to do that, we're also going to need to remove these two pulleys. So now that the cable has been fed through both of these pulleys, we're going to go ahead and grab the cable and bring it all the way down through the slot here at the bottom and run it through these two pulleys here at the bottom. These pulleys also need to be removed. Okay, so now that the cable has been ran through these two bottom pulleys, we're going to bring it back up and we're going to screw it here into the back of the pulley trolley. Alright, so now the cables have been fully ran through the F50, it's time to test to make sure they all have been run through correctly and all of them are on the pulleys. In order to do that, we're just going to use the pulley as normally. It should be completely smooth. There should be no jerkiness, no jumping. The weight shouldn't be jumping up and down. So it should just be completely smooth when testing it out. Another thing to test out is to make sure that this pin goes in all the weights. So we've tested that the pin goes through all the weights and the pulleys are completely smooth. The next step is to fully tighten every single nut and bolt. I would highly recommend getting either an impact wrench or an electric socket wrench to really speed up this process. So now that all the hardware has been fully tightened, the next step is going to be the outside cover panels. Guys, we're almost there. The very last step is going to be putting on the stickers for the weight stack. Finally, we can go ahead and put on all the attachments. Is finally 100% put together. I know it can be a bit time consuming and a bit frustrating at times assembling the F50, but trust me guys, the end result is 100% worth it. I hope this video helped clear most of your guys' questions up when assembling the F50 and just give you a better oversight on how to assemble the F50. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below or give us a call. Thank you.